What's the deal with Jeff Sneider?
What's the deal with Spider-Man? With a big assist from Marvel, Sony cast the Impossible star Tom Holland as the web-slinging Peter Parker and hired Jon Watts to direct in the wake of his really fun Sundance movie Cop Car. If you'll remember, it was TheWrap that first reported that Tom Holland was being eyed as the new Spider-Man back on April 22nd, just minutes before Sony chief Tom Rothman took the stage at CinemaCon. Despite an impressive slate including the next James Bond movie and new films from Ang Lee, Robert Zemeckis, and Ridley Scott, it was crystal clear how important Spider-Man is to a studio in need of franchises, especially with its biggest one poised to move studios. The Spider-Man casting decision was not taken lightly, which may be why it took so long. Rothman, his predecessor Amy Pascal, and Marvel's Kevin Feige auditioned roughly 1,500 young actors of all ages and races to play the new Peter Parker. And like Superman, Doctor Strange, and The Last Spider-Man, this one will be played by a Brit too. Tom Holland played the eldest son of Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor in The Impossible, and he was terrific in that film, carrying it on his young shoulders. His director, Juan Antonio Bayona, lobbied hard on his behalf, but this was as cutthroat a competition as any edition of The Hunger Games. Sony and Marvel want to send Peter Parker back to high school, so while a 14 or 15-year-old actor might have made the most creative sense in terms of the actual story, minors are subject to labor laws and limited in the hours that they can work. Tom Holland is actually 19. Early on, Nat Wolff and Asa Butterfield appeared to be Holland's main competition. A favorite of Amy Pascal, Wolff's on the verge of stardom thanks to Paper Towns, while Butterfield's the rare young star who has played the lead in productions such as Hugo and Ender's Game. But Wolff looked a little too old, Asa was a little too tall. 6 young actors, including Holland, flew to Atlanta to test, but the others were mere window dressing, including Charlie Rowe from Red Band Society. Rowe has a very similar look to the last Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, while Tom Holland looks completely different from the last 2 Peter Parkers. Both actors screen tested with Robert Downey Jr., whose Iron Man will share scenes with Spidey in a Captain America Civil War, but only Holland returned to test with Captain America himself, Chris Evans. It seems that Marvel and Sony wanted Holland all along. Meanwhile, Sony's search for a director also played out in public. To those who have been paying attention, Jon Watts has been one to watch all year. I attended the midnight movie premiere of his Cop Car at Sundance. I was the last guy to leave the parking lot afterwards. Watts got really strong performances from 2 young boys who find Kevin Bacon's cop car in the woods and go for a joyride, not knowing that there's a surprise waiting for them in the trunk. Pull over and see Cop Car when that one drives into theaters in August. Watts may have been a late entry in the Spider-Man sweepstakes, but he found a champion in the Marvel team. It remains unclear who will write this all-important reboot, which is scheduled for release in July 2017, more than a year before we'll first see Holland in Captain America Civil War. Holland's an impressive dramatic actor, and I've heard good things about his performance in Ron Howard's Whale Tale in the Heart of the Sea. He also has a background as a gymnast and used social media to share some cool stunts that certainly showcase the spirit of Peter Parker. In keeping with Marvel's penchant for extreme secrecy, Holland didn't even know he had the job until the news was announced. As the deal wasn't done, Marvel's worried about leaks, though, and decided to announce early, knowing that they would have no trouble closing it. It was a fairy tale ending for what has been an arduous process that took place under close scrutiny from fans and bloggers alike. Props to Marvel and Sony for making 2 solid decisions that should pay off for years to come, and for going wide with the big news. I'll have to get my revenge on Spider-Man next time. This has been What's the Deal with Jeff Sneider. Follow me on Twitter @TheInsider, and thanks for reading TheWrap.com.